Hello. Happy Thursday. I am Tiana Nichelle. How are you all doing? I am a serial entrepreneur, empowerment coach, nonprofit founder, CEO, mobile app creator, all of those things to empower you and individuals with disabilities and their families. Um, Tonight's conversation, and I have these lives every Thursday about topics in our community, topics to empower you, um, relationship topics to help you have healthier relationships with family, whoever you're dating, husband-wife relationships. I talk about it all. So tonight's conversation is going to be a little bit, I haven't talked about a hot topic in a minute or something dealing with someone in the media, but I actually watched this interview with Tyrese on the Breakfast Club, and I thought it was really interesting. And I know he's been in the media for a lot of different things. But let me start off. Thank you all for the birthday wishes. Let me go there before I get started. I am so grateful for you all sending in your texts and posts and DMs and what am I missing? Phone calls, all of those things. Truly grateful. Thank you. Yeah, I am really grateful. 39. Whoa, one more year to 40, y'all. One more year to 40. But there's so many things that I'm just ready to accomplish, to tackle within this year. So my mind is like on go. Now, to our topic, this whole Tyrese interview, we're going to delve into the interview, mental health, and when to extend grace. So, I don't know who all watches The Breakfast Club, but I watched the interview with Tyrese, and he was just talking about how he felt a ways about how they kind of talked about his public issues. We know that he had the crying video, and then it came out that he was, around town just texting people and saying like wild things, and then he came back like he was on some psych meds, and it made him respond like that. And so the Breakfast Club, of course, radio show, they talk about different hot topics, and he came up. Hello. He came up, his divorce and everything just has been public. And so he felt like because he came to help DJ Envy when DJ Envy was going through his divorce. Well, not divorce, but he was about to be divorced, okay? Because she was not playing. But going through the whole infidelity situation that blew up, and his wife was ready to file for divorce, and all of these different things. And so Tyrese actually came in and talked to them and this, that, and the other before he had all of his issues going on, and he felt like the same grace should have been extended to him. Now, when I was watching this interview, there was like a lot of different issues because nobody had talked about anything. And they all got, so DJ Envy, Charlamagne the God, Tyrese text them things that was like inappropriate, and DJ Envy was talking about how the text messages were towards his wife, it was inappropriate, whatever. So he kind of blocked them, right? And that's what we tend to do. That is what we tend to do when we are offended. A lot of the times we don't necessarily address it. We hold on to it. We harbor it and never discuss it. that's actually not a good thing. um, because now it carries on, and this has been some time. Like, he was saying he had been blocked for a while, and he just unblocked him like a month or so ago. And so it was just like, wow, he's been holding on to this for a long time. Now, I'm using this situation to talk about two things: mental health and grace. But I wanted to give some background so that you all know what was really going on before I dip into the mental health and grace situation. So, lo and behold, they was all holding on to things that ended up coming out on air. And I feel like that wasn't really the right place to really have it, but Tyrese was kind of like pushing it. And, but they did come to a resolve. So everybody apologized for their part, which I did really, really like about that, because everybody said their apologies. But how long it took to even get to that part, and the fact that everybody was holding on to something. And so my question is, when do you extend grace? Knowing what everybody knew who was on that platform about all of the different mental things that he was going through. And I would say, at first, sometimes I feel like people go through things. We all go through things, right? But some people use those things to their advantage. And in this instance, because he has talked about his mental health struggles before, and it's fine to have those conversations. We do have to have those conversations because there are a lot of people that do struggle with mental health. Hello. But when you do something for somebody, and then you're like, well, where was the same grace when, I was going through this, that, and the other? It felt like an attack, like he was using it to attack the other person, not recognizing what his part really was. If you offend somebody, because this was the thing that I saw, he offended them, but never recognized the offense that he caused in the beginning of the conversation. He just pointed the finger as to what the people did. Like, they're talking about his divorce. They're talking about his mental health. Oh, here we go in the news again. And a lot of times, because that's their job, right? That's what their job is. But we, as people, do that, right? We will be triggered by something that somebody else does, and instead of acknowledging the part that we play, we'll point the finger instead of saying, wait a minute, okay, maybe it was something that I did in order to trigger this behavior. Or you knowingly know that you did something. Sometimes you may not know, but in this situation, he knew. He knew that he had texted them all types of shenanigans, but he never addressed it. And that was a major issue to me, because he didn't address it. He just kept telling them what they didn't do and what they should have had for him. They should have had grace. Like, where was the grace when it was, talking about his relationship or mental health and all of that? Where was the grace? Nobody reached out, but you never came to them and apologized. And this is the part, a lot of the times we be so in our feelings about offense when we don't even take a step back to apologize about the offense we've caused somebody else. And it is really something that everybody does. We're not perfect. Nobody's perfect. You're going to not make everybody happy at all times. But when you've clearly done a deed like what he did, texting crazy text messages, but never saying, you know what, guys, I was out of sorts, I was on medication. I needed, you know, I needed some help during this time because the medication made me feel X, Y, and Z. So I didn't really know what I was doing. I apologize. Like, he never did that. He just went about it as if everything was cool. And I felt like he started to use his mental health issue as a weapon, as a tool to be like, well, you already know that I had mental health issues going on, but that's not a reason to negate how you made somebody else feel. People can sympathize with you when there's an apology because of something that you did, no matter what state you were in. And that was the thing that I was just looking at, like, he didn't even apologize until Charlemagne was basically like, dude, like, that's not an apology. Like, it was all sideways. So I wanted to have this conversation as to when do we extend grace. So here's the thing. Like, we need grace in our everyday lives. And a lot of times we don't even realize that the same grace that we give somebody or don't give somebody is the same grace that we'll eventually need. So that's why we should always extend grace. But I feel like there is a such thing as boundaries on that. And there is a such thing as not using a situation as a weapon to be like, okay, well, why weren't you there for me when I was going through this type of a situation, when you know good and well that you did something that was outrageous, that was very offensive. Because yes, he went out of his way before his situation happened. He went out of his way to save somebody else's marriage or relationship. But if you do something that is like he basically texts inappropriate things, you have to acknowledge what you do. And I think that's what a lot of people don't do, is acknowledge their roles in the situation. So, and I've had this conversation before. I've talked about giving grace and for being forgiving, but there's a boundary to that, because if you do something to someone, you can't expect them to automatically jump and be like, oh, everything is cool. I know, you might have been going through something. No, I felt like he should have doubled back and apologized after he realized what he had done with them, because he apologized to certain people, but he didn't apologize to them. So I felt like that in itself was a little disrespectful, but at the same time, he knew what he was doing after the fact. If he had a mental breakdown and he didn't know what he was doing during, it was brought to his attention after the fact, and he chose not to address it. Just like in that interview, he really was not addressing his part. He was so busy pointing a finger at them having grace for his situation that he didn't realize that he really attacked them. So why would somebody want to have grace for you when you full out attack them. Now, from my standpoint, because I have given grace in the past. I have given grace for different situations depending on what they were. So I'm not saying that everybody should tackle it like that, because everybody, tolerance is different. But at the same time, there should have been a conversation. And if that person wasn't willing to have the conversation, which I feel like he probably wasn't willing to have the conversation, then there's nothing to say until it's now brought up again. But the fact that they suppressed how they were feeling and it was like bubbling over in that interview, to me, it was just like they needed to be sitting on somebody's couch and not necessarily over the airwaves with it. But at the same time, they did come to a resolve. So that part was really good. It doesn't happen like that for a lot of people, where they come to that type of resolve. But talking about the situation is very healthy, as long as the two can come and have a conversation without cussing each other out. That's the one thing that I didn't really agree with, because they was kind of like going back and forth. It was like low-key disrespect at first, and then they kind of cleared the air. But you don't have to sit through that. Like, you don't have to sit through that type of situation. But to harbor those feelings, to me, is really toxic, because now when you get in a room with that person, now you're spewing, and it's just like everybody battling. But if you could come to a resolve quicker, that to me is much healthier than for you to wait all the way down the line. Now, if the person is not willing to sit down and have a conversation with you, you already know what to do with that, because you don't have to associate yourself with people who really, don't value you enough to sit down and have the conversation. And that was one of the things that I felt like he didn't value them enough. While he was saying, like, where was the grace? He didn't value them enough to sit down and have the conversation with them before, the interview, to hash everything out when he actually saw what he had done. And there's actually a lot of people that have done that. I know that in the past I would hold on to things that people have done. And I'm going to tell you, that's the most toxic thing to do, is to hold on to something and then spew it out. The reason why I would do that is because before then, I was a hothead. So if you looked at me the wrong way, if you did something to me that I felt like was a little sideways, I would hit the ceiling. But then when I was trying to get my temper under control, I started to hold it in rather than saying how I felt in the moment, because I didn't want it to escalate. And I had people to say, like, why are you holding this in? Why would you do that? And it's like, I have to do that in my timing, because you know what you did. Like, if we was in the same room when you did it, so you know what you said. But in order for me not to go off on you, then I had to be quiet, because otherwise we would have been boxing up in here, like that type of thing. And so now I have learned how to say my piece, and if I feel like we not getting nowhere, I'm just gonna walk away. Conversation over, because I'm not gonna go back and forth. I said what I said. I, acknowledge what you said. But if there's a back and forth and it get disrespectful, feel free to walk away from those types of situations, because it's not going to do anything but rile you up, and then you going to be up here and they just like, okay, whatever. And that's the part that I saw Like, I was looking at Tyrese being cool, calm, and collective while he's sitting here like, why didn't y'all give me grace? But he never really. I actually had a little bit of an issue with that because he really offended some people, but it was just like he just really didn't want to acknowledge his offense until they kept bringing up like what you said was disrespectful. Like he wasn't gonna apologize, and you might have some people like that because there are people who are like that in the world. They like, okay, well, whatever, it's not a big deal, but it's about me in the moment. Those type of people, to me, have some issues that they need to work out. It is really a little bit selfish because you're more concerned about what you have going on rather than how you made somebody feel. And the thing is, people will remember how you made them feel, not necessarily what you did. It's really like how you made them feel in whatever the moment is. And that's actually, y'all can go watch this interview though. And that's actually what DJ Envy was stressing. Like, yeah, it was you was there, but after that you did X, Y, and Z. So it's no longer about you bringing us together and you doing this, that, and the other. You came back and canceled out what you did by your words. So the other part was that I wanted to address is the mental health. I'm going to step back into the grace in a minute, but the mental health, and he was talking about all of the different things that he was dealing with mentally. And I could see how it could be very overwhelming because a lot of celebrities, their lives are public. And a lot of people don't necessarily understand why people, like, they would get mad over their life playing out. Now, yes, they chose a public profession, but people that are on public platforms do not want to be publicly bashed about their personal lives. Like, that wasn't something that he put in the media for it to leak out. As a matter of fact, his ex-wife is the one who put all of their business out. So, and I remember that because he had started talking about it once the trial happened, and people was bashing him because of the stuff that she had said, and he hadn't said anything until that point. So people had already formulated their opinions. But people don't understand that people on public platforms are human beings and they go through stuff. And just because they have a public platform or they are quote unquote famous people, that they have everyday lives just like any one of us. And so they go through things, and their relationships go through things, and their relationships actually take more of a hit than a lot of ours because of the publicness in their relationship. And so really their life, because a lot of stuff plays out, and we don't know the ins and outs. Like, we don't know the ins and outs of nobody's relationship. We can speculate based on what we're shown, but we don't have that information. And so there was a conversation that I had with someone, and they were talking about how all of these celebrity women they're not able to keep men. And so I'm like, but there's a lot of celebrity men that don't stay with one woman. So what are we talking about here? And they were saying, like, look at the Halle Berrys or the what's her name, Madonna, or it was just J-Lo. They was just naming some people. And I said, well, a lot of the times, if you think about it, their relationships are public. If regular people have a hard time in everyday life with their own relationships and keeping it together, because relationships take work and a lot of people don't want to put in the work. They just want the fulfillment that they get in the moment. But beyond that, a lot of people don't want to put in the work that it takes to keep it going. Why do we think the divorce rate is high? It's not just because people just look to get divorced. It is that people are really not willing to put in the work. I would say that in the relationship I had, almost had a year ago, that person was not willing to put in the work. Like, there was some challenges, and it was like, okay, so are we going to come to the table and sit down and hash things out? Or, they was not willing to put in the work. And I couldn't do nothing about that, because at the end of the day, I am not going to be on the struggle bus to make everybody else look good. It was the same thing when I got engaged some years back. Now, we went to counseling, we did all of those things, but the work at home was not being done. Going to counseling, but not putting in the actual work that the counselor is saying. And I'm the only one putting in the work. That's a problem. So there are a lot of one-sidedness in relationships that people don't even talk about. But you can't work on a relationship by yourself. And I find that there are a lot of guys who have this fantasy of the relationship. And I talked about this in a previous live, which is on my YouTube channel, Tiana Nichelle, the Visionary. You can go there and see previous lives. I'm actually going to link that live below when I post this. But a lot of the times, guys will fall in love with the fairy tale of being with someone because they look a certain way, but then not want to put in the work to keep that person. So when I was having this conversation with this person, I was stating that, because if you look at someone like a J-Lo or a Halle Berry, they technically are high earners, high earning women. And when you're a high earning woman, it is harder for men to be in relationship with a high earning woman, especially someone that earns way more than they do. And I've talked about the whole role situation. It goes back to the roles. Men still have it in minds where they should make a certain amount, and for a second they might be cool with it, but then it settles in. We not on the same playing field. Now the shock sets in, and they looking like, I don't want to do this no more. Case in point, I was watching this Netflix video, whatever you want to call it, series, and it was a husband and wife, and the husband worked as an engineer. He used to work as an engineer, and they started having kids, and the wife's career picked up. She's like in sales. She makes well over six figures. Like, she brings in a lot of money. And so, and this is real. Like, this is a real series, a real life series, where they were talking about finances. But the husband said that he doesn't feel like a man because his wife makes way more money than him, and he's at home with the kids. So the roles are reversed, where he stopped being the breadwinner and allowed her to go off and do her thing, and he's at home with the kids. And so now it's affected their marriage, because he is like, she doesn't respect me. But sometimes that thought, sometimes it's true. Now, I will say, for women who make money, well well over the amount. Um, there are some women who do not respect men who make less than them because they feel like, okay, why, if I'm making this amount, you know, what are you doing? Why can't you come to the table with something? Why can't you, up what you're doing? All of those kind of things. Hello, hello, hello. Sorry about that, guys. But there are some women who have a problem with men earning less than them. And there are other women who are just like, okay, as long as you bringing in enough to take care of X, Y, and Z, we cool. But those people are like regular people. We're not talking about celebrity status. They like regular folks. Like, he was an engineer and his wife worked in sales, and she just started killing it in sales, and they had kids that needed to be tended to, and so he decided to sacrifice his career and stay at home. But now there's resentment because he has sacrificed his career and then said that she doesn't respect him. But here's the thing. With them, it was more so about the spending, where he would spend the money that she was bringing in, and she has a bigger responsibility now to take care of everything that she did not have before. So she is really freaking out, and he didn't really understand that. So she tries to keep the control, like, with the money, because there are so many things that they need to pay for that's coming out of the money she's making that he's not making. And so that's the other part. Like, when you are the head of a household, your mind is constantly going, because if your check come in and you got all these different bills that's coming out of this check, your mind is like going 100 miles an hour trying to make sure that every single thing is covered. And if you got to do something extra to make, to make sure that this thing get paid over here, and you don't want no surprises. So I get it, because I have taken care of a whole family, so I already know what that entails. And my mind always was like going, because I'm like, I make this gotta be paid, 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 over here, over here, over here. So a lot of times, the thing with women, and I'm going to say this because I actually had a conversation recently with a man who was talking about the disrespect that is seen when it comes to a woman earning a certain amount of money. And it is, now here's the thing, some women are just disrespectful, right? Let's just call it what it is. There are some women who are just disrespectful, and it only gets more disrespectful with the more that they earn. But there are other women who are stressed out, okay? They are stressed out because it's technically not the role that God has given the woman to be the provider. That is actually a man's role. And I talked about roles before. I can bring that conversation back. But when a woman is put in that role, which is a masculine dominant role, she then becomes masculine and dominant because she has to make all of the decisions. She has to do all of the thinking for the household and making sure that everything is running, everything is paid, there's no issues, no anything, right? Whereas if a man is not meeting her in the middle, now she's even more stressed out, and she's looking at him like, what are you here for if I'm paying for everything? So now the roles wind up reversed, because she has to take on a more dominant role, which most women really don't want. I'm going to just tell y'all, most women really don't want that. We really don't want to be out here taking care of everything and doing everything all the time. That's stressful. It's very stressful. Okay. We do want a husband or a man that's going to take the lead on a lot of things. And I talked about what women want, and the conversation, a man came in and he's like, women really don't know what they want. There are some women who don't know what they want, but the women who say that they know what they want, men don't take that at face value, because they come around women who are constantly confused. Those women who are constantly confused, their voices are louder than the ones who already know what they want, and those ones are easily manipulated. If you don't know what you want, you don't have in your mind the vision that you have for your life, you are all over the place. But once you have that vision that you want for your life, you know what type of man that you want, you know what type of household you want, how you want it to run, you know what you want to be doing, the goal for the family, the goal for your life, all of these different things, then you will be clear about who you date. It will be harder to date because you're not going to date men who are less than what you want, and not going in that direction. You're not going to date men that are all over the place, because there are men who are truly all over the place. And so you're not going to waste your time like that. You're going to be intentional about who you're dating and what you're entertaining, because you have a clear goal. But those women who don't have those clear goals, they all over the internet. And it's very much seen. If you running around here with your behind hanging out, you know, doing all of the things for attention, clearly, you know, you don't have real familial goals, I should say. Real clear, cut and dry goals, because there's no husband. I mean, there might be one or two. We gonna talk about real men, not whatever these these men are to entertain all of the nonsense on the internet. But a real husband that has a that values himself, he has goals and visions for his family, he is not gonna want an Instagram thought pocket. Like, most men with integrity do not want that. And they're going to be intentional. It's going to be harder for them to date as well. And this is so funny, because I talked about dating and how people always date the wrong ones. You always find the wrong ones before you find the right one. But a lot of the times, those ones run into the wrong ones, and it takes them a little bit longer to find the person that's on the same page, but they do exist. And this is the other part I'm going to say. People don't give up on love, because what you want does exist. It might be a little bit of a challenge to see it at first, because you might have to kiss a few frogs before you get the prince. But it's okay. It's a learning lesson. But you should be able to decipher, you know, what it is and what it isn't. If you're looking for something real, just don't settle for what you can get at the time if it is not aligning with your goals for your future. I feel like that's a waste of time. And it's so funny, because I actually had a conversation with a gentleman a couple of days ago, and he was asking me like, oh, you know, are you in a relationship? And I was like, nope. And he's like, oh, so you're looking to date? I said, nope. He was like, what? And I said, right now, I am really like in my element. So I'm not looking to do anything but to be in my element and serve in a way that I want to serve. And I feel like if I do decide to date, you know, it might be a little bit down the line. But right now, I'm good. He's like, whoa, what do you mean? And I'm like, what do you mean? What do I mean? Like, I have things that I want to accomplish. I have goals. I'm a grown woman out here. I got goals that I want for myself, for a family that I will have. I got a whole vision board of all of the things that I want to accomplish. If the person that I am with is not on the same boat, like, you know, we not in the same vein, it's going to derail me from what I'm doing. I don't have time for that. So we're not testing those waters right now, because right now this is a me situation. And so he's like, oh, you must really be hurt. And I said, why do I have to be hurt? Because I'm focused on building what I want. Men have to stop doing that too, because every woman not out here hurt about nothing. There are a lot of women that's out here like really putting the work in because they got things that they trying to do. Everybody ain't out here hurt. So if you don't know what to say, just keep it to yourself. And I was like, okay, so are you dating? He's like, no, I haven't found anyone. And I'm like, so it's okay for you not to date, but it's not okay for me not to date. Like, bro, really? Stop it. Just stop it. And then when I asked him, like, what he's doing, he's trying to figure out his life. So that's cool. You trying to figure out your life. I already got my plan A to Z up in here that I'm working on. So clearly, we not gonna see eye to eye because you think I should be dating while I'm working on my plan A to Z. No. Like, no. But it's funny how people have these skewed views, and then it's just be like, what are we talking about here? Men have to stop doing that. If you trying to, first off, men should stop questioning why a woman is single, because just because a woman is single don't mean that anything is wrong. She could be carving out her goals, you know, and don't want to be distracted, because that's really where I'm at. I don't want to be distracted because I'm trying to, you know, get things done. But how you approach somebody, how you talk to somebody, that's major. Like, cause I was like, okay, I got grace for you, bro, because what you said was a little offensive, but at the same time, you trying to figure out your life. So it's clear that you don't know how to talk to somebody. So maybe you should figure that part out before you go find somebody, because you gonna ruin that. But the conversation, because he wanted to delve into relationships and different things, so I wanted having a whole session with him regarding different relationships, different approaches, and all of this other stuff. So it became a real decent conversation in that way. But how he started, Jesus. But going back to women who are high earners, who are having we talking about public people now, that are having challenges in the relationship pool, it's really because sometimes men don't know their place if they're not making the money that woman is making. And it's hard to figure out how to navigate when a woman is making more money for a lot of men. Now, there are some who don't care and they like, we a team, but it's rare, because I have found where men were in competition with me that I was dating, They was in whole competition. And I'm like, what are we competing about? We on the same team. No, but you do this and you got, and I'm like, bruh, you not me, I'm not you. At the end of the day, I got my goals, you got your goals. But if we're working on something, then, you know, we can do this together. But we not gonna be up here competing. That's a no-no, and that's actually a big red flag. When a man has to compete with a woman, that relationship is doomed, because y'all not even on the same page. You all are supposed to be a team, you know, be a unit, be moving together and building, not in constant competition, because it makes you do this all the time. And then when are you actually having the relationship, having a healthy dialogue, having a loving relationship, I should say? When is that actually taking place? It's not if you're constantly bumping heads because you in competition because she make more money. I don't see where women be. Now, there might be some one-offs, but I don't see where women be in whole competition with men because they making more money. Like, if a man is making more money than me and he's taking care of things, I have nothing to say. There is nothing. Okay, what do you need? What's going on? And I talked about this like in a previous live where in the past, when I was in a relationship with someone and they were working several jobs, okay? I was, at the time, I was working and I was building a business. So I was stressed. I'm not gonna lie. But they were like, oh, I'll take care of this, I'll take care of that. And I was like, no, because during that time, I'm going to tell you my mindset. At this time, I could do it myself type of mindset. I don't need you to do it. I can do it myself. I figure it out. If I need a new tire, you know, whatever the case may be going on with my car, anything personal, I'm going to figure it out. Now, to some degree, I'm still that way, but I know when to take a step back. But in this case, in this relationship, I was not necessarily like that. I was more so I could do it myself. And he had to say, you know, can you chill out on that? Like, I'm the man. I'm supposed to do X, Y, and Z. But for me, I had been so used to doing things and not asking anybody to help me do anything. So it was hard for me to accept help, which some degree it kind of still is, but I'm a little bit more relaxed in that because I can be like, okay, you know, cool, depending on where it's coming from now. But back then, he was basically like, let me do these things. And I was like, no, I can do it myself. I go to this person for this and this. Like, I had a mechanic, you know, a person that worked on my car, person that did my oil changes. If I needed something moved, you know, or whatever the case may be, I had people that I could call for that. It was like, because I had already had these things set up and they was in place and it was people that I trusted, I just was like, let me not interrupt the system that I got going on. And he's like, no, I can do this. This is what I'm supposed to do. And I wasn't used to that. So we was having some friction because I wasn't in my femininity like I am now. I was a little bit more dominant. So it was like I had to do and be and all of those different things because that's what I was used to doing. I wasn't necessarily used to allowing someone to take care of every aspect of my life. Like I wasn't used to that. But what I did do is when he was working, because he had 2 jobs in a business, okay? He was working. And so I did, and I talked about this, like I said, I made sure that his clothes were clean, that everything was ironed, house was good, all of the things to make his life easier. And I feel like in that regard, that's really how teamwork works. But I didn't have to give him a hard time. Like, we talked about it since then. I have since apologized about that. But making his life easier was what I winded up doing in that regard. So the day to day for him would be easy. There was lunch that was ready and all of these different things because he was doing so much and I saw that. So I want women to know that it actually works. Now the reason why we're not together, because there was some other issues surrounding loss and different situations that he was dealing with that weren't really vocal, like they weren't really verbalized, and some, like, there was some spazzing out that was happening and I didn't know where it was coming from, and at this time I did not have the wherewithal to handle that type of issue. It wasn't until I was like, okay, I had enough and I had time to actually sit back and think, and I'm like, and let me just tell you, even going through coaching classes and all of the different things, and then getting your own healing, because that was the other part. I had not gone through my own healing journey, so I did not even understand what he was going through. And I think for a lot of women, we don't take the time to actually understand what our partner is going through. We just think, oh, they're supposed to handle everything and they're supposed to do all the things, but that's not the case. They are human too. Men are human too. They go through things just like we go through things, and we as women should have grace enough to try to help them, especially if you say that you all are a team and you're in a relationship, to try to help them and walk them through, whatever it is, or send them in the direction of that. Now, most men have not been ones to go to counseling and, do all of those things. I would say, men, you really do need to address your mental health and what you have going on, because it's a lot that men deal with on a day-to-day basis that they don't even tell us. And a lot of the things that he was going through, he was able to verbalize it after we split. We had a whole conversation and apologized for the parts that we played, but we left it there. So there's no like love lost or anything, but at the same time, it was just like, okay, we just need to be friends and that's it. So that was fine, but going forward, I learned a lesson from that, and I've learned how to sense, be like, okay, what's really going on? You want to talk about it. Before I didn't do all that. Like, I at one point I tried, and then I was like, bruh, like, I don't have the time or the patience, because either you gonna talk or we ain't gonna talk at all. Okay, you don't want to talk? Okay, fine. That's just how I was. But now I'm a little bit more compassionate when it comes to that, because I realize that there are a lot of people that deal with mental health issues, and there are a lot of men who have silent mental health issues that they're dealing with on a daily basis that nobody even knows about. And a lot of them are stubborn and don't want to seek counseling for it. And men, go talk to somebody. Everybody don't have to know that you're going to talk to somebody, that you're going to get coaching. I've coached men. I have coached men in their relationships, in mental health, all of those things. I talk about these things and I tell my story because, so to give you all some background context on where I came from, where I am now, is two different things. But I say all that to say it's okay to seek out help when you need it, so that you don't hold on to all of the pain and the hurt that you've been through, and that you can have a healthy and happy relationship with someone without feeling threatened, without feeling like, you're not enough. Because it's so funny that show that I was watching on Netflix with the couple, he was saying he feels like he's not enough. And he was looking really like down. Like, his self-esteem took a hit. And I could really see that him being at home was not fulfilling, that he was depressed. He was stressing these things to her, and she was just walking away. So, needless to say, I'm like, if they don't get that together and get into some counseling, some therapy, both of them separately and together, they're going to be divorced. It don't matter how much money you make. Like, nobody want to feel like they can't have a conversation and it be taken seriously. And that too is one of the issues when it comes to relationships and marriages, is that people don't take other people's mental health seriously, or when they say that they need help or they feel a certain way. And a lot of us as women, we do discount men when they say that, and we have to stop doing that, because we want to be in relationship with them, we want to understand them, but we are putting up blocks and saying how they should and should not act or be. That's not cool. It's not, because it's not healthy. Nobody is supposed to be a robot that just takes hit after hit and never have an outlet. Like, that's not healthy at all. And a lot of us expect men to be like that. But going back to the wage earning situation, I think that for those women, that there's no perfect solution for them to find love and keep it, because it's kind of different with celebrities. Like, you don't know who's in it for the money, and you don't know who's really in it for you. And that's the thing that they wind up dealing with, which is one of the issues that Tyrese was actually dealing with, where he found out that his ex-wife was just with him because of who he was, not because she really wanted to be with him. Like, so now she wants the money, and she don't care nothing about how he feels or anything. So it's just really interesting, because it's harder for them today because they really don't know who to trust. And we say that, like, we have those conversations where we're like, I don't know who to trust. I know that I had those conversations before where I'm like, okay, I don't know if I can trust. But I've gone through a lot of different things. This is why I have these conversations, because I know the things that I've been through can help you. So that's why I offer coaching. That's why I, do the empowerment messages and inspirational messages and all of those different things, because I know that there was times when I needed it. Sometimes I still need it. Every day I do affirmations, I pray, I talk to God and all of these different things. So you still need it to refill your tank. But I pour it out, because one, I know that that's what's necessary. That people need that. People need to be poured into on a deeper level, not just that surface stuff, not social media. Everything's funny. You know, we traveling here, we doing this, we doing that. No, people be going through whole breakdown, fallout situations, sliding down the wall. You know, relationships done ended. They done lost a loved one. Um, Dealing with financial situations, job situations, anything you can name, like, people be going through. And so if I can be a glimmer of hope, and offer some of the things that I have done in order to get through situations from abuse, child, like, woo, baby, um, emotional, physical, sexual abuse from a little thing, you know, and then physically abused as a 20 something, a young 20 something. And so I, not to mention the other things that I talked about, from health to relationships to child. I don't walk through a lot of different things, and I talk about it candidly on here because I know that there are people that are going through it and that need the inspiration, the encouragement, and need to know that somebody understands what they are going through, and can see somebody that got to the other side. It's so funny because I talked about on the last slide, I talked about this conversation that I had with this lady, and she was saying, like, oh my goodness, you don't look like what you've been through. You should tell your story, you know. And I'm like, I do these lives, and she's like, you need to write it. And I'm like, well, I already started writing. I haven't put that part out. The book that I do have is Taking Back Your Power, you know, basically tapping into getting over mental blocks, and really honing into operating in your purpose, essentially. Getting past the who said you couldn't do X, Y, and Z. So I already had that book. I did that book in 2001. I'm sorry, 2001, in 2021. So 2 years ago, I did that book. It's on my website. Right now, it's actually $39. I'm offering everything on my websites for $39. The coaching sessions, the workshop that's coming up in October for families and individuals with disabilities, teaching them how to advocate for their child. That's a 6-week workshop. That one is $39. Everything on there. So whatever you need, it's up there. It's use it to your disposal. I have made myself available. I have opened myself up for to take on more clients, so that I can help more people that have been in abusive relationships, that have been sexually abused, that have dealt with depression, mental. I talked about this, where there was a time where I would pray to die. I talked about that. I was in college. And that's how I was feeling about myself. There's a lot of different things that I have walked through, from grief, losing my dad at 15, losing my sister 3 years ago. So these are things that I went to get certified to do, trauma-informed coaching. coaching to help, you. I have had relationships, I've been engaged a few times and I called it off because it wasn't right. So I talk about relationships. I know what it takes to keep a relationship. I was in a lengthy relationship, but then I realized like it's not working for me, and marriage at that time was not something that I wanted. So I talk about these things. So I have created coaching packages around all of these different things. Being a sibling of someone with special needs, I have gone and gotten classes. I am on the board for certain things, certain organizations, I should say, all of these different things. So I use everything that I have gone through to literally help you get through whatever it is that you are going through. So right now, all of those coaching sessions, those products are $39 in celebration of my birthday. 39, I'm 39. So everything is $39. If you go to TianaNichelleWilliams.com, you will see that. If you go to Empower Society, the things that are on there is the 6-week masterclass. But the $39 offer is actually on my website because it's in celebration of my birthday. So you can get in that masterclass. It's actually $97 for a 6-week masterclass, but it's $39 if you go on my website and purchase it through my website. Okay? So back to what I was saying. Everything that I do is to help you. It's not just for me to just have these conversations just because I just want to, talk, but it really is to help to bring awareness to certain situations, to empower you in your daily life, to have better relationships, to have a different thought process. There are different conversations for different reasons. Sometimes I do a community conversation for everyone to chime in on what they think about certain topics. But all in all, it is to help you while you go through what you are going through, because I have been through a lot, child, a lot in my life, and I've had to overcome a lot of different things, physically, mentally, spiritually. So I'm here as a resource to help others get through. Even the weight loss, I wasn't going to, and that's the crazy part, I wasn't going to put that up there, but I got several, and I'm just saying several, but it's more than several, that's why I keep repeating, requests to do coaching for weight loss. And I felt like because I still had 80 more pounds that I'm trying to get off, so I was gonna wait until I got those off. But I included that as well because people kept asking, what did I do? Because I didn't go the hardcore route like everybody else in the gym 50 million times a day, doing all of these extra wild things. Did not do that. And I will walk you through that, but I will tell you one of the keys is your mental. It is more mental than anything else. You can do whatever, but if your mental is not together, nothing you do, I don't care how many times you go to the gym, it's not gonna work, because you have to get your mental and your spiritual in alignment. So that is one of the things that I actually teach you to do. So that coaching package is actually available, $39. Where I walk you through that whole process. So yes, I have added that because it's been highly requested, and I was just like, seriously? That was not my plan, but I did it anyway because, I always pray for God to use me however He wants to use me. And so, because that was a thing that was highly requested, I just put it up there because it could help somebody. So that's there. But going back to the whole relationship, when I was talking about, you know, women who are high earners and all of these different things, and how it's harder for celebrities to find their person, basically, because they don't know who is for them and who is not. When I talked about, it was the same way for me at a point in time where I just was like, I don't know, and I ain't about to guess. So they have the same issues we have. Their stuff is just super public, so it's really hard. And I don't think this is where the grace comes in, because we want people to have grace when we going through our relationship woes and all of the different ups and downs that we have in our lives. We want people to have grace for us, but we don't have grace for those people. I have really seen where people will send hate messages to people who are influencers or celebrities, because they're like, well, your life is public. That don't give you a right to bash somebody, because at the end of the day, you want somebody to have grace for you when you go through, and you got to eat that. The thing about life is, the very thing that you don't give grace to, you wind up having to eat it further down the line. So it suits you well to be better to someone and have grace for somebody else, because you just never know when you're gonna need that same grace, baby. You never know when you're gonna go down that same road as that person, and your situation might be even worse than that person. You just never know. So it's number one, I said this before, it's good to keep your mouth off of people, because the words come back. And then having grace for people, even when you don't understand what they're dealing with. I've talked about this like a gazillion times. I'm going to bring back some of the old lives from when I first started 2 years ago and revisit those topics. So, because I know that some people have said that they've helped them and things like that. So I'm going to revisit some of those topics regarding grace, being in the fight of your life, having better relationships, getting past mental blocks, all of those things, pursuing your dreams, your purpose. All of those conversations I'm going to bring back. I'm actually in the process of uploading them to my podcast. So you'll be able to actually listen to it on Spotify pretty soon, those conversations. So anything I can do to help. But yes, so having grace for other people is really key, because you just never know when you're going to walk through something where you would have to or you would want for somebody to have grace for you. So the thing is, having compassion is the key to having grace. You have to really be a genuine, compassionate person. And there's not a lot of people like that out here in the world where they're genuinely compassionate about what people have going on. And it's really sad, because there's so much negativity in the world. There's so much, I'm going to say that's what's highlighted, is the negativity, and the dysfunction is highlighted. So you don't get to see the people who have the compassion, that are genuine people that really care about other people's well-being and mental health and all of those things. You don't really get to see that. You always see the crazy stuff that people do and say, and the world pushes that out, and then they speak against positivity and all this stuff. It's really crazy, because I even talked about how the news has like all of this time where it talks about all of the things that have happened that are negative, and then the segment of all of the good be like this. That's really how the world operates. But it really needs to be highlighted. People who really are compassionate and are genuine people that really, care about people's well-being and want to be better, do better. Those people really need a voice and a platform. Y'all need to stop hiding behind the keyboard and come to the front of the congregation, as they say. Because we need more people that have that positivity in the world, and more people need to hear your story, your testimony, what you have walked through, what you have been through. People need to hear that. The world needs to hear that, because it is something that you can help somebody with. I always talk about that. I've always said that your story is very important, and so you really need to come and tell it. Write it. And if you need help on writing your first book, doing an ebook, it's very simple. I can show you how to do it. It's not hard at all. It's going to take some time for you to, if you already got it written down, then it's not going to take you no time. You just got to put it together, baby. But if you haven't written it, what you waiting on? What you waiting on? Tell it. You can get a platform. Talk about it on social media. You may not have a format, because when I got on here, I'm just going to say, when I first started this, I was nervous. And I still have moments where I am. I'm not going to lie. But when I first started this, I've never been a person to get in front of the camera. If you have seen any picture of me in the past, I'm probably standing behind somebody. I'm probably all the way in the back. You probably could have to zoom in to see my head. I was never one that was like on the debate team and doing all of these different activities where the spotlight was on me. I was in gospel choir, and I was trying to run to the back to be all the way in the back, okay? Anytime we would stand, I was sliding in the back. I've always been like that. So this was something that was new for me. But I was obedient to God, because God was saying, this is what you need to do. So this is what I've been doing for the past 2 years. It'll be 3 years, March. Wow. So this is something that I feel like other people need to do. Don't just sit on your gifts. Don't just sit on what you have gone through. Don't let your hell be wasted on not telling your story. Like, don't let your hell be wasted, because you got a lot to say, and it's very valuable. You have a lot of valuable information that you can offer to the world, and people need more of that. And people need more coaches. This is the other part. A lot of people are seeking out coaches for a lot of different things. Like, it's like the coaching industry is like booming, it's skyrocketing. And so you don't necessarily have to do empowerment, life coaching. You can do different types of business coaching. If you are a tech guru, you can do tech coaching. You really don't need to necessarily turn on your camera for it, like for your face to be on it, but you could talk while you're showing everybody to do it. If you are a person who knows resumes in the ins and outs of resumes, you can be a resume coach. You can literally be a coach for every single thing to help somebody in some capacity. So you guys think about that. There are some of you all who have been illustrators. You have illustrated books. You can show people how to do that. Illustration coach. Y'all book a session with me, because I'm actually great at coming up with business ideas, walking you through the front, the back. Baby, that's all I'm gonna say. Baby, I'm gonna get you together. But all in all, you have a gift. You have something to contribute. And extend grace in every situation. You don't have to let people in. Going back to that, when I was talking about that whole having grace for people, you do not have to necessarily let people be in your space and place and all of those things if they are repeat offenders. I'm gonna say that's what I use. Repeat offender. That's somebody that keeps doing something, but wanting you to forgive them. That person does not have to be in your space. But if we just practice extending grace to those who are not abusing the grace given, but then recognizing what else is going on underneath. And I know that a lot of people don't take the time to do that because they are not coaches and they are dealing with their own stuff. That was something that I had to master. So my mind always goes through, and especially being a coach, the first thing I think of is, what is that person going through? This is a symptom of a much bigger problem. Just like when I talked about weight. Weight is a symptom of a much deeper issue. If you are terrible in relationships, and there's different issues, like an array of issues that it could be, because people are like, oh, I'm terrible in relationships. That's not really the case. A lot of times you're either running from something, running towards something, or something you are not paying attention to. But it all boils down to where you are. If you're not in a good place, you're going to attract the same type of person, more likely than not. So that part. People that say, I am who I am, those are people who have deep hurts that don't want to change. They want people to take it or leave it, but they are the very people that want grace but don't have grace for people, okay? So there's a lot of different things, that people are dealing with. But all in all, you need to talk to somebody. You need to have the conversations. You need not to hold it in. And be gracious to everybody you come in contact with, because you just never know what someone is going through. You never know their situation. They could be going through a really dark time, and a lot of times that's what it is. When people are going through really dark times, they are rude, they are dismissive, they are hard to love, hard to please. But recognize those things and extend grace. And if they're not acceptant to what you're giving, then just back off, and when they're ready, let them come to you. So with that, I hope that you enjoyed the conversation. I thank you all for joining. As always, you are welcome to give your input, especially when I post this on YouTube. Make sure that you go over there, you like, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure that you give the videos a thumbs up. What else? And then tell me how the videos help you. Like, let me know. Like, I didn't ask that before, but I would like some feedback. And give me feedback on what you want more of. Do you want more of relationship conversations? Do you want more of the life conversations? Do you want more of the whole like life coaching sessions? Let me know what you want more of in the comments when you go over to my YouTube channel, Tiana Nichelle the Visionary. So with that, I will see you all next week.